Today, we're diving into one of the most compelling stories about leadership you'll ever find, the tale of ancient Israel's very first kings. It's an epic saga of how a nation demanded a ruler and got, well, exactly what they asked for, and then the leader they actually needed.
And this is the question that's really at the heart of our story. It all comes down to two men, Saul and David, and their completely different paths to power. One was chosen for how he looked on the outside, the other for what was in his heart. And believe me, the consequences of that choice changed everything. So, to set the scene, you've got Israel being led by a judge named Samuel. He's a good guy, but he's getting old. And his sons, well, they're corrupt. The people are facing a real leadership crisis, and they start looking around at the powerful kingdoms next door thinking, hey, we want some of that. So they go to Samuel and make this demand. And you have to understand, this wasn't just a political move. It was cultural. They wanted a warrior king, someone to lead their armies and, in their words, make them like all the other nations. But for Samuel, this was a huge deal, a rejection of their unique identity and even their God. Samuel doesn't pull any punches. He lays out exactly what a monarchy will cost them. He warns them that a king will take. He'll take their sons for his army, their daughters for his court, their best land, their best crops, a tenth of everything. He ends with this brutal forecast. You yourselves will become his servants. And here's the kicker. They heard the warning. They understood the price. And they chose it anyway. That desire for a strong, visible warrior king was just more powerful than any fear of the consequences. So, the decision was made. They were getting a king. And so, the search began, and soon enough, Israel found their man, Saul. On the surface, he was absolutely everything they wanted. He looked the part, a perfect embodiment of their desire for a strong, impressive leader. This comparison pretty much tells the whole story, doesn't it? Saul was chosen because he was literally head and shoulders above everyone else, a tall, imposing figure you couldn't miss. But the next king, David, he's described as a ready, good-looking kid, the youngest son who wasn't even in the room when Samuel first came looking. He was completely overlooked. So Saul's reign starts off pretty well, but it doesn't take long for the cracks to show. It really comes down to two major acts of disobedience. First, he gets panicked before a battle and performs a religious ritual that only the prophet Samuel was supposed to do. Later, he's given a direct order to completely destroy an enemy, but he spares their king and keeps the best livestock for himself. These weren't small mistakes. They showed a deep character flaw. And this line from Samuel is the final verdict. Saul tried to make excuses. I saved the animals to sacrifice them, but Samuel cuts right through it. He says, your heart is what matters. Your actions showed you care more about what people think and the spoils of war than about simple obedience. And for that, Samuel tells him, your kingdom is over. So with Saul now rejected as king, the prophet Samuel is sent on this secret mission to anoint a new one. And he's not sent to some noble family or a military hero. Nope, he's sent to the house of a man named Jesse in the tiny little town of Bethlehem. This was the new job requirement, the new standard for leadership. When Samuel first sees Jesse's oldest son, who's tall and strong just like Saul, he thinks this has to be him, but he's told no. One by one, 7 of Jesse's sons are brought out and rejected. Finally, Samuel asks if there are any others, and they say, well, yeah, there's the youngest, but he's out watching the sheep. And that, of course, was David. Now David gets anointed, but he goes right back to being a shepherd until a national crisis hits. The Philistines are on the attack, and they have a champion, a giant named Goliath. I mean, just look at these numbers. His coat of mail alone weighed over 100 pounds. The iron tip of his spear was 15 pounds. This guy was a walking siege engine, and for 40 days, he has the entire Israelite army completely terrified. And what does David bring to this fight? A stick, a sling, and 5 smooth stones he picked up from a stream. It's almost comical. King Saul even tries to put his own royal armor on David, but it's way too big and clunky. David just takes it off. He's not going to fight like a soldier. He's going to fight like a shepherd, using the tools he knows and trusts. This was David's mindset. He shouts this at the giant, then runs straight towards him. He puts a single stone in his sling, lets it fly, and hits Goliath right in the forehead. And just like that, the unbeatable champion comes crashing down.
David's victory was so shocking, so complete, it instantly turned him into a national hero.
And right here is where the story takes a really tragic turn. You'd think David's success would make him the king's favorite, right? Wrong. It made him a threat. The very thing Saul should have been celebrating, a huge victory for his nation, became the seed of a dark, all-consuming jealousy.
It all started with a song. As the army marched home, the women came out singing and dancing, and their lyrics were, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s." The crowd gave the bigger number to the young hero, not the king. And for Saul, that was absolutely unforgivable.
Saul's paranoia just spiraled out of control immediately. The text says the morrow, the very next day. He's so consumed by rage that he hurls a spear at David while he's playing the harp. This wasn't a one-time thing. It kicked off a years-long obsession, with King Saul himself hunting his most loyal and celebrated soldier all across the country. This all leads to one of the most incredible moments in the whole story. David is on the run, hiding in the back of a cave. And who should walk in, alone and vulnerable, but King Saul? David's men are whispering to him, "This is it. This is your moment. Your enemy has been delivered right into your hands." But David refuses. He won't touch the king. He respects the office, the anointing, even if the man holding it has become a monster. By sparing his own worst enemy, David shows the kind of mercy and restraint that proves, beyond any doubt, that he is the one who is truly fit to be king. But even after David showed him mercy, Saul never let up. He couldn't. His paranoia and his disobedience had cut him off completely. And it all leads him to one final, desperate confrontation that would mark the tragic end of his reign. On the night before his final battle, Saul is terrified. He feels totally abandoned by God. So in absolute desperation, he disguises himself and goes to a medium, a practice that was strictly forbidden, and asks her to summon the spirit of the prophet Samuel. And the message he gets is grim. "Tomorrow, you and your sons will die." And the prophecy came true. The very next day, the Israelite army was routed by the Philistines. Saul's 3 sons were killed in the battle, including his heir and David's best friend, Jonathan. Saul himself, wounded and about to be captured, took his own life. So in the end, you see the two paths so clearly. Israel wanted a king who looked the part, and they got Saul, a man ruled by fear and jealousy who died in disgrace. But the leader they needed was David, the one chosen for his heart, who led with courage and mercy. His was the path that led to the throne. And that leaves us with this final thought. Saul was always trying to seize power that wasn't his, while David refused to take it, even when it was right there in front of him. It really makes you ask the question, what is true leadership defined by? Is it the power you're willing to seize? Or maybe, is it the power you're willing to refuse?